got on Dennis's phone number, I can find him in 9 years and I'll get to find him. And he might give me a free drive in McLaren.
It was a story we were almost able to tell a year ago. But Lewis Hamilton had woken from his boyhood dream just 1 point short of becoming world champion. So for 2008, the wide-eyed naivety was replaced by a steely determination that yielded victory in the opening round in Australia. There was an equally resolute challenger in Felipe Massa, and they traded victories and mistakes, celebrations and controversy, all the way from Melbourne to Sao Paulo. And at the Brazilian Grand Prix, in the most dramatic of circumstances, for Lewis Hamilton, the dream at last became reality.
You guys did a fantastic job. So this is for you, to my family. Thank you for all supporting me and believing in me.
Lewis Hamilton, 2008 Formula One World Champion.
It's been such a long journey. I'm so thrilled to be able to do this for everyone.
Whenever anyone looks back at the 2008 Formula One season, they'll remember it as the year that came down to the last corner of the last lap of the last race. And as we look back at some of the highlights of this amazing championship, we'll concentrate largely on the events of that Brazilian Grand Prix that made Lewis Hamilton the Formula One world champion. But in many ways, his momentum to the title came not in the final lap at Sao Paulo, but here at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone in July. He'd started the season with victory in Australia, but by the time he got to Silverstone, he'd lost the championship lead. The British Grand drama that Formula One has ever seen. But I've been joined here at Silverstone by Martin Brundle, and even up until that point, Martin, it was a quite extraordinary season.
Steve, it'll go down in history as one of the best Formula One seasons of all time. The youngest world champion ever. 7 Grand Prix victors from 5 different teams. 9 of the 11 teams on the podium. 3 new Grand Prix winners in Kubica, Vettel and Kovalainen. 4 different championship leaders through the season too.
Up until that point, though, up until Brazil, what had impressed you most about Lewis?
Well, he had some stellar drives, didn't he? Melbourne to start the season went very well indeed, but here at Silverstone it was just an exquisite drive in difficult conditions. He beat the lot of them by well over a minute, and he was cruising too. And I thought another standout drive was the Chinese Grand Prix too. Under pressure, went there having had a terrible time last year at that very race, delivered a brilliant performance from pole position and gave himself a chance to win the championship.
But there had also been mistakes, and there had also been times when he was less convincing.
Without doubt. I mean, he made some critical errors in the pit lane in Canada, of course, when he creamed into the back of Raikkonen's Ferrari. He should have known better than that, because the previous 2 seasons drivers have been disqualified from going through that red light. It's an unusual pit lane exit there. The team could have helped him a bit too. And the sort of brain fade moment at the beginning of the Japanese Grand Prix, where all he had to do was beat Massa.
So moments like that and the occasional intervention by the stewards, which we'll discuss a little bit later, brought us to a final round decider in Brazil. Lewis Hamilton just needed a place in the top 5 to guarantee himself the World Championship title. Felipe Massa effectively needed race victory, and it was a Brazilian who were there.
It's beyond my dreams, and to be sitting here at McLaren headquarters, you know, we're sitting with Lauda's World Championship car, Prost's, Senna's, and now's mine sitting there, and it's kind of crazy.
It is raining very hard.
It's a delayed start. They're all sitting on the grid on the wrong tyres.
Still to come in our review programme, Lewis Hamilton looking in detail at his championship year, and we reflect all the other aspects of this amazing season. But as that last race unfolded in Brazil, Massa seemed to be heading for the victory that he needed. But Hamilton was safely in the top 5 position that he needed for the world title. But then the weather intervened once again.
They're going to be on them. If it doesn't rain, Hamilton...
We are at the very building where they create your Formula 1 car. Lewis Hamilton, Formula 1 world champion. How does it feel now?
It feels great. I think it's great to end the season on a high, and to have reached one of my main goals in life. It's beyond my dreams, and I'm just very proud, very honoured to be in the position that I am, and to have the responsibilities I have, and to be sitting here at McLaren headquarters. You know, we're sitting with Lauda's World Championship car, Prost's, Senna's, and now's mine sitting there, and it's kind of crazy.
What was going on in that race? Were you fully aware of the challenges that you faced moving towards the end of the Grand Prix?
Yeah, they constantly said to me, you can't let Vettel pass, you need to stay ahead of him, you have to stay ahead of him. So that was a lot of pressure, and I mean, I was able to stay ahead of him for a certain period of time, but my tyres went off quite quick, and then he was all over me. It was impossible.
Did your heart sink then when Vettel went steaming through at that Juncker corner?
It did. My heart, it was already in my mouth up until that point, because I could see him breathing down my neck. And then, you know, when you're under that sort of pressure, it's easy to make mistakes, to spin, to outbrake yourself, go wide, hit a wet patch. That last lap, I was just focusing on Vettel. I had to do everything in my power. Even if I'd crashed out that lap, it doesn't really matter, because I'm 6th, so I'm nervous just talking about it.
When did you realise then you'd won the World Championship?
It wasn't, well, I did, as I passed Glock, I was kind of excited, but I wasn't so sure. So I accelerated up the hill, I made sure I hit all the shifts right, I wanted to still make it. And I got across the line, and I didn't see the team cheering for me, like they do when you win a race.
Yeah.
So they left me waiting for a while, but it was worth the wait.
I saw a very emotive photograph of you and your dad just minutes after.
We both couldn't believe it. And we've gone through the same roller coaster ride together. And I've always said that he's always had to, being the father stroke manager, he's always had the toughest job. You know, being able to separate his emotions and making the right choices, making sure that he does right by me. So he's had an incredibly tough job, and I've just had to get in the car and do, you know, and keep myself fit and other small bits around it. So he's really, even though I'm seen as the world champion and I'm the one that's put on the pedestal kind of thing, and he's in the background, he's the one that really should be there, because he's the guy that got me here. So.
Now your girlfriend Nicole got pretty excited on race day as well.
Yeah, she did. to have her there, and then to have her involved in it and be able to experience what a racing weekend is really about, what my whole year is about, and what it comes down to, and to share that with my family and everything, that was so important to me. So I'm glad she was able to do that.
You said something in Brazil that caught my attention. I know I'm not popular in the paddock, and I think you were referring to the way the drivers were beating up on you a bit in China. How does that feel?
It doesn't really bother me, to be honest. It's been a part of my life since I began racing. Since my first year of racing, it's just been the way it is, and it's not necessarily people not liking me. It's no one likes to lose. No one likes to be to have someone come up so quickly like I have, go straight to the team that perhaps someone else was hoping to be sitting in, and then beating them. You know, I don't like losing. You know, I put on the brave face, but I don't like losing.
Let's take a look at the highs and lows of the year. Now, the Canadian Grand Prix, you looked like you were going to win that for a while. That was looking quite strong, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Canadian Grand Prix, for some reason I'm ballistic there. I was up front and I was gone. And
but the last 2 years there's been a red light incident, because it's an unusual pit lane that feeds into turn 2, isn't it? It's a very unusual thing with a safety car. Inevitably going to be a safety car because there's no runoff areas there.
It's easy to look at it and say, what the hell are you doing? Because I see it and I say, what the hell are you doing? But when you come out, when you stop in your pit spot, you've got to make sure you don't hit anyone. You've got to make sure you're on the pit speed limiter. When you launch from the spot after the stop, you've got to make, hopefully you don't crash into anyone in the lane. And then you've got all these other buttons that you're switching, then you take a tear off, and then you're looking ahead. There's only 50 meters, maybe 100 meters, but you're traveling at 80 kilometers an hour. I hadn't seen the light, and in hindsight, we should have had someone saying, red light, red light, red light. But the guys all of a sudden stopped, and it happened in such slow motion that I didn't really have time to react, and I went to the left, but there was someone there, so, you know.
Yeah.
He did.
So you carried a penalty then into Manicourt. The wheels are starting to come off the season a bit by now, aren't they? And so you had a 10-place grid drop, which left you under pressure.
If you imagine Montreal didn't happen, we had won that race. We would have won the championship a lot earlier. But that kind of put it into a cycle where we got that that grid penalty, and then we start the race further behind. Then you're in with turn 5 at Magny-Cours, it's easy to crash with people. Managed to stay out of trouble, but then I got another drive-through penalty, so I'm at the back and got no points. So.
Were you feeling that they were beating up on you at this point, that it was unfair?
I mean, when you're receiving penalties and stuff like that, no one likes to have penalties for sure, so you always feel the world's against you, but what can you do? You just have to live with it and deal with it.
Your victory at Silverstone's already down in folklore, I think, as one of the all-time great Formula 1 drives.
Really? I mean, yeah, it was, for me, it was special. I don't know how other people perceive it, but you just have an extra buzz when you're in your home country. I'm racing at home, so it was very special for me. And then it rained, and that was really a gift, because I've always been strong in the wet. I've won pretty much every race I've done in the wet, except for Brazil. And it was, we won by. I was in total control. I never had any problems through the race particularly, because where everyone else is spinning. So when I watch the race, it's funny. I think it's funny when you see some people that's spun for 7 or 8 times, and I look at it and I wonder how that was possible. But it was a very tricky conditions, and the team did a great job as well.
It's quite clear, Martin, what that World Championship title means to Lewis. What exactly does it mean to McLaren after so long without any major success?
There would have been some very nervous McLaren bosses on the pit wall in Brazil. They hadn't won a constructors' or drivers' title since '99 with Hakkinen, and they had to take that title. Otherwise, I think heads might have rolled there. They needed some success for all of the investment. They had a fantastic car through that period, but it just hasn't worked out for them. And the spy scandal of last year, of course, they needed that result as much as Lewis did.
The other great impression we take away from Brazil, the dignity of Felipe Massa, who's proved so much during the course of this past season.
Engine problem. He could easily have taken that title. He had pit lane problems, he had unreliability. Of course, Lewis lost a lot of points with stewards' inquiries, but Felipe Massa would have been a very worthy world champion in 2008.
And Massa, of course, ultimately dominated his world champion teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Where does 2008 leave Kimi?
Kimi looks like he wasn't quite on the pace, lost a bit of interest, was getting highly paid to do a poor job because Massa just thrashed him in qualifying, in the race, with World Championship points. Kimi was a bit unlucky, say, at the Manicourt French Grand Prix, where he did drive very well in the car crowd and finished second. But generally speaking, it was a poor season for Raikkonen, and Massa was the #1 Ferrari driver.
So what now do you expect from Ferrari and from Massa and Raikkonen in 2009?
Well, Massa has really established himself as the main man. Kimi's got to get back on track and show that he's worth the salary that they pay him. Ferrari will need a bit of an adjustment. Instead of writing Massa off, they've got to look at him as their main contender.
Well, another feature of the Brazilian Grand Prix was the first lap exit of David Coulthard, and it spelled a very sad, rather low-key finish to a marvellous 15-year Formula One career.
You know, to do that many seasons in top flight motorsport, and he's raced against some of the best in the generation, obviously at the time, and won many Grand Prix, and it's a real credit to him. He's a good bloke, and he'll be missed.
Really good team player. Obviously, brilliant race driver, and had some fantastic races with us. He was with us for nine years, I think. Scored something like 412 points, and I believe he won 12 races. I mean, I think that just about says it all, doesn't it?
He missed out on the ultimate prize of a world championship. Unfortunately, he had Michael Schumacher to go up against for the majority of his career. He's delivered some great races.
We raced Formula 3 and Formula 3000 together, so we've raced all our careers together. I think he's a true gentleman, and we had a hard but very fair races, battles, and I think Formula 1 is going to miss him.
The guy has won so many races, and he's challenged for the title on not just one occasion, and it's great that he's had the chance to decide when he finishes, and I think that is key to the end of a good career.
Clearly I wasn't as talented as some of the others that I raced against, but admitting your failings and taking responsibility is, I think, a good way to live your life. I'd like to imagine that people think I've been sporting, I've been a racer, I've got stuck in, and I've tried the best with the ability.
David Coulthard under braking into the chicane. What was going on then? David Coulthard wins the British Grand Prix. Oh God! He's going to have it out with David Coulthard.
Yes, I think it was for him. I think he'd had enough. He ended up in a very happy place, David. He's a lucky boy in many respects because he's still got all his limbs intact. He hasn't really had a big shunt. He had respect at the end of his Grand Prix career. He knew when it was going to be his last race. Many don't. You go through a long, miserable winter, seemingly the last person to recognise that your Grand Prix career is over. And so I think he was ready to stop. He still had the pace to keep pushing along, and he pushed Mark Webber quite hard. But he had a lot of incidents through 2008, which is really not precise with his driving, but he seemed to be wearing somebody else's car or his own front wheel through many of the races. Still got his podium in Canada, of course, to sign off with. But generally speaking, I think David was ready to go, and he's happy to go, and it was exactly the right time.
It was farewell to David Coulthard in Brazil, but this past season also gave us a glimpse into the future of Formula One. And when the German Sebastian Vettel won the Italian Grand Prix at Monza, it was the first victory for Toro Rosso, but he also became the youngest winner in the history of Formula One.
A record-breaking weekend for Sebastian Vettel started with his first ever pole position and culminated in the 21-year-old German.
I think Monza also is a special circuit, a special place to win. My first win, obviously, very special, very unique. Obviously, for an Italian team to listen to the Italian national anthem after the race, standing up there on the podium, having all the tifosi, all the fans cheering and shouting and singing, screaming at you is you know, these kind of pictures conservative here and there and everywhere. So I didn't want to break the car, obviously, and just brought it home.
There was not one mistake, there was not any bad lap, there was nothing. He just did like a world champion would do. I think for a 21-year-old boy, how he behaves, how he works, how he drives, how he got this win is very special. And if he doesn't hurt himself, we're going to see a lot of more wins.
There was a bit of Formula One history. What impressed you most about Sebastian Vettel at Monza?
Well, it was a genuine pole position. He was under a lot of pressure, treacherous conditions. Other more famous and more successful Formula One drivers were making errors, and he didn't make any. He won the race fair and square, no luck involved, a proper adult racing strategy to go with it. He'd been threatening to do something special for a while, and when it happened, it was truly special.
And now he moves from Toro Rosso to Red Bull. Is that looking like a good move?
I think it is. He's moving to the parent team. Of course, Gerhard Berger's announced he's sold out and he's leaving Toro Rosso, and Gerhard's a smart cookie, and he would have been driving that team in a strong direction, and I think Sebastian will be pleased that he's moving to the main Red Bull team and up against Mark Webber, of course.
So plenty of race wins surely to come from Sebastian Vettel. In a few minutes' time, we'll look at another of the new generation who made a big breakthrough this year. Robert Kubica, who had a fantastic win in Canada.
Robert Kubica wins! He takes the lead in the Drivers' World Championship, and a star is well and truly born.
We continue our review of this amazing 2008 Formula One season, a season in which Lewis Hamilton captured most of the headlines, but there were other big stories and other drivers who made an impression as well. Louise Goodman and Ted Kravitz report.
After a winter of uncertainty, Anthony Davidson was relieved just to be in the paddock in Melbourne. His Super Aguri team had been teetering on the brink of financial collapse for months, but Davidson and teammate Takuma Sato battled on in the face of adversity, even if their efforts were sometimes thwarted. Sato's 13th place in Barcelona was Super Aguri's best result, and it turned out to be their last. Just days later, last-minute talks with potential new team owners collapsed, and with Honda unwilling to bankroll the team any longer, the administrators were called in.
The year didn't get any better for Honda. Having written off 08 in favour of developing the 09 car, they ended the season being put up for sale themselves. Because they didn't develop the car, Honda finished 9th in the championship. This meant less prize money, which, along with the fact they haven't had a title sponsor for the last 3 years, meant Honda Racing were totally dependent on funding from Japan. When that dried up, it was the end of Honda in F1. Their only bright moment was Rubens Barrichello's podium at Silverstone. Jenson Button had a miserable year, but at least is optimistic of being on the grid next year. Whether that's in his current seat under new ownership or another team, only time will tell.
Robert Kubica may not look like a stereotypical Formula One star, but he certainly drives like a champion in waiting. A regular visitor to the podium in the early part of the season, he took BMW Sauber's first pole in Bahrain and capped that with a maiden victory in a chaotic Canadian Grand Prix. It took Kubica to the top of the championship leaderboard, but as the development of BMW's package tailed off mid-season, so did Robert's results. Teammate Nick Heidfeld is no slouch, but he was comprehensively overshadowed by the pole, who was still in with a
Returning to the warm environment of Renault after falling out with McLaren, Fernando Alonso had high hopes of challenging for the championship, but the team had lost their way. It took a few months for Alonso to understand the problems, then work with Renault to find the solutions. So, with new front and rear wings and a tweak to the engine, Renault's performance was transformed, leading to wins in Singapore and Japan.
The season was difficult, but the team did a huge effort to put some new parts in the car, and some of them they worked very well at the end of the season. So this is the best thing of the season for us.
Fifth was Toyota's best championship finish for a while, and it was largely thanks to the efforts of a rejuvenated Jarno Trulli. He finally had a car he could work with and used it to good effect, including a well-deserved podium finish in France. Timo Glock was slow to get going, but second in Hungary was the start of some promising results in the second half of the season. Promise was a bit lacking down at Williams. The year started well with a podium for Nico Rosberg in Melbourne, but there wasn't much else to celebrate until a fortuitously timed pit stop in Singapore brought a surprise second place. New boy Nakajima showed flashes of flair and impressed the team enough to retain his seat for 2009. Force India weren't really much of a force in 2008, but that could change next year thanks to a recently announced technical partnership with McLaren, which should help the little team mix it with the big boys a little bit more.
For the sports governing body, the FIA, 2008 was painful in every sense of the word. First, their president Max Mosley fell victim to revelations about his private life. But equally important for Formula One was a series of decisions by FIA race stewards that threatened to lose the team's and the public's confidence in their judgments. The issue came to a head at the Belgian Grand Prix when Lewis Hamilton was stripped of the win for not giving Kimi Raikkonen enough of an advantage back after cutting. The FIA have listened to this criticism and in future will explain their decisions in public.
People enthused this season, of course, about Lewis Hamilton, about Massa, about Vettel. But in many ways it's also the season when Robert Kubica really arrived on the scene.
He did very much so. He won the Canadian Grand Prix, a little bit lucky because Hamilton had run into the back of Raikkonen in the pit lane. But after that race, he led the World Championship in June, and that wasn't by luck. He's got a great style behind the wheel. He really lets the car move around. He's exciting to watch. The fans like him, and the likes of Hamilton and co are looking over their shoulder because Kubica's very fast.
And he was getting the absolute maximum out of the BMW, which sort of went off the boil a bit at the end of the season.
Yes, it did. I think they were satisfied with the victory, started to focus on the significant changes that are going to happen to the 2009 cars, and Kubica was a little bit upset that he felt they didn't focus enough on his World Championship chances.
Heikki Kovalainen at McLaren, how disappointing was his season?
Well, he scored a third as many points as Hamilton did in the same car, which says it all. He did win the Hungarian Grand Prix, again a little bit lucky because of Massa's engine problem and Hamilton's puncture. Kovalainen is much better, I believe, than he appeared in 2008. He's going to have to dig deep and raise his game because 2008 wasn't good enough. He didn't take points off Ferrari, didn't really do the job for McLaren, and I think he's more frustrated about that than anybody else.
How does he lift his game for 2009? Is it a confidence thing? Is it a fitness thing or what?
I think a bit of both, and he's got to stop looking across the garage and wondering just what Hamilton's going to do next, because Hamilton's going to take off now that he's world champion. He's going to have so much confidence, and that's hard. So Kovalainen needs to find an inner confidence, an inner strength and belief, and just go out there and let his natural talent flow out onto the racetrack.
The other big issue, of course, for 2009 is exactly how Formula One pays for it all. What are the kind of shockwaves that are coming from Honda's situation?
It's a very serious situation, without doubt, because you've also got Manicourt falling off the calendar, Canada, Hockenheimer struggling, China making strange noises about not renewing, and now you've got a team that's dropped out. We're down anyway to 10 teams, and maybe they'll find a buyer for the remnants of the Honda team. But if another manufacturer decides that in the slipstream of the Honda decision, Honda have broken the ice, they could exit Formula One too, then you're in for a serious time. And why should Formula One think it's going to be exempt from the financial problems that the world has at the moment?
Well, we'll talk a little bit more about the racing prospects for 2009 in our final part, but before that we've got our last ITV F1 competition.
To celebrate the 2008 season, we've got one final competition thanks to Vodafone. It's your chance to attend the Santander British Grand Prix on the 19th, 20th and 21st of June 2009. You and a friend will have 3-day grandstand tickets for Silverstone, where you can watch Lewis Hamilton perform in his home race. Not only that, but you'll also receive a Vodafone McLaren Mercedes shirt signed by Lewis as a wonderful reminder of your day. So to be in with a chance of winning this great prize, courtesy of Vodafone, just answer this question correctly. Lewis Hamilton won the Drivers' World Championship this year, but who came second? A. Sebastian Vettel, B. Felipe Massa, or C. Jenson Button? To enter, call 090 4959 6789. Calls cost £1 from a BT landline. Calls from other networks may be higher, and from mobiles will be considerably more. Or you can text F1 followed by your answer of A, B or C to 63337. Text also costs £1 plus one standard network rate message. Digital satellite and cable viewers can enter by pressing their red button now. You can enter for free at itv.com until 10 a.m. Thursday the 8th of January. Entrance must be 18 or over. Phone lines close 10 a.m. the 31st of December. But entries made after the closing time won't be counted, but may still be charged.
Good luck with that. In our final part, we'll have more on the prospects of Formula One in 2009. Maybe the future is night racing, because the Singapore Grand Prix was one of the great success stories of 2008.
The first ever Formula One night race is go! Oh no! That's a big mistake!
Well done, Fernando. Fantastic drive, perfect.
Lewis Hamilton, 2008 Formula One World Champion.
It's the championship success of Lewis Hamilton, but it was a season in which two new circuits made their debut. Valencia, Martin, maybe wasn't a wholehearted success, but night racing in Singapore certainly was.
I adored that race. It was so exciting, the atmosphere out on the racetrack, and to see the cars, particularly say through turn 6, they were bumping and bouncing around, sparking dust coming up, drivers out braking each other into that little 90 left of turn 7. Summarise a very exciting Grand Prix. Normally you need it to rain for an unusual or challenging race, but because the darkness threw in another factor that I think absolutely worked for Formula One. Maybe only in a downtown environment and in the Far East for the time change, but it was brilliant.
So do you expect to see more night races, or maybe Singapore is just a one-off?
I think only if it works in as I say, in a city environment. You need a service culture. The place needs to be open all night long for it to work. I think if we tried to do that out in the sticks of Suzuka or Fuji, it'd be a disaster, personally.
Singapore also was a wonderful success for Fernando Alonso. He took the victory there. Was it the season in which we saw the former world champion really re-emerging, coming back into the frame?
Many of us feel that Alonso is the most complete package on the racetrack in driving terms, because he can drive the team, he can work out the strategy, he keeps it on the road, he's very fast. He's a complex but can very much get the job done.
And of course we've talked about the young generation of drivers like Kubica and Vettel who are going to be right up there. Is Nico Rosberg rather more on the fringe of things now?
I think Nico is one of the young challengers of the future. We saw a great drive from him in Melbourne and again in Singapore in the darkness. He used his opportunities very well there. I love watching him drive. He really attacks the racetrack, and for sure I'd put him in there with Kubica, Vettel and co as the chasing pack of Hamilton long into the future.
One other element of 2008, the confusion and sometimes the controversy that surrounded stewards' decisions. One thinks in particular of Spa. Has Formula One taken enough steps to resolve that situation?
Well, I hope so. They're going to be more transparent in the future as to the data that they worked from and why they made the decisions that they will have to make. And they do need to change it. They were supposed to have made more consistent decisions in 2008, more quickly. That didn't happen. The fans were very angry to watch a brilliant race in Spa, only to read on a Monday morning that the result was different to what they thought it was. And other situations led some of the fans to believe it was a conspiracy against McLaren, for Ferrari or whatever. I don't necessarily buy into that. In my view, some of the decisions were bad. Without doubt, it was very negative for Formula One, and I'm pleased that the FIA have changed the system.
Next season, a lot of technical changes, a lot of unknowns. How tough will it be finally for Lewis Hamilton to repeat what he did in 2008?
I think he's on a roll now. His confidence will be sky high. He's got the championship in the bag. He can relax a bit. That stigma has gone away. I think he'll move on to a whole new level, and there are a lot of very exciting young drivers who'll be chasing him.
We all move on. You will stay in the commentary box for 2009. We wish you all the best for that. But next season, we'll have to go some to match the extraordinary excitement of 2000.
Sharper, I can make less mistakes. So there's all these different things. And I've also the new regulations that come into it. We've got a new car. We have to tame that beast and make sure it's the best by the end of the season. So, that's all exciting.
Do you feel more or less pressure now?
I feel less pressure.
Why?
Well, because the pressure, I don't particularly feel it comes from my surroundings. I feel it comes from within, and the putting that pressure upon yourself to succeed is really what, you know, either makes you or breaks you. And I still have that pressure on me, but I know I can control it and I can use it to my advantage now.
Looking to next year, a lot of changes. KERS, the energy recovery system, slick, dry tyres, new aerodynamics. How do you think that's going to work out for you?
I think with the slick tyres, we've got to make sure that our new car is not so hard on the tyres. I think we're in good position to sort that out. And also being on slick tyres, I've experienced it in GB2, so I won't be lost. I think it's a good place to start from. You know, the car's being finished. It's been, you know, they've already started working on it at the beginning of the 2008 season, and now it's nearly ready. And we've got some test days to get the car ready, because I've not tried that yet. I've been a bit worried after some reports of people getting electric shocks and stuff like that. Yeah. But I think the team have done an incredible job in managing it, and they've invested a lot of money and time. I think that's going to work out quite well for us. So, and there's quite a bit of time in it as well. So, I feel very positive. I've already started my training, and again, just trying to analyze. I've analysed everything that happened this season, the positives and negatives. I've turned some of the negatives into positives. I'm enjoying the present, and I really look forward to the future.